You don't got to be crazy to go see a therapist. If you go see a therapist, she ain't crazy. And don't wait until the last minute when you are in shambles to go see a therapist. I'm Dominique, and I'm going to be your co-host, I guess, or host for the day. And I am a licensed mental health professional. And then, of course, there's Antoinette.
I'm still me, Antoinette. I am officially an elder in the Lord's church. And I'm here to lend whatever conversation I have.
Hello. I'm Minister Shanita. I'm a member of New Hope Baptist Church. Yay. And I'm also here to just be a part of this wonderful discussion that is about to take place.
Hello, I am Rolanda. I'm a licensed mental health specialist as well.
Okay, and the topic today is why Jesus and why therapy. So we just gonna get into it. And I want everyone to kind of answer why they feel like Jesus and therapy works together. And we just gonna start around the table. Rolanda? It's because you want to end.
I understand. I believe that Jesus and therapy are interconnected because in order to know who you are in Jesus, you have to know who you are as an individual. And I think that is imperative. And you find your identity through him. So you have to have those uncomfortable conversations and you have to face yourself. And sometimes you need an unbiased opinion or unbiased insight on that. So.
Okay.
Well, I think because we as human beings are two parts. We're spiritual and we're natural. So Jesus is going to help that spiritual part of us. Going to therapy is going to help that natural part of us. So that combination, in my opinion, just works well together. So you have to have both.
Ditto. That works?
No, go ahead.
I didn't know if it was going to work. I think that, honestly, I would go see a physical doctor. I believe God gives people the knowledge that is needed to be able to assist you with things that are outside of your control. I think that prayer is fantastic, but having somebody who can help you to pack and unpack the mental stuff while they pray is even better. So I think there is a combination. I prefer a Christian counselor, somebody who is licensed and has faith that can help me to respect my spirituality, but fix the crazy.
So I believe Jesus in therapy because I come from a space where everyone isn't at the level with Jesus yet, where they can hear Jesus or they can talk to Jesus, or sometimes you're on a faith walk and you haven't gotten to that point with Jesus yet. So sometimes you need a counselor who can also be a servant of God because, yes, I'm a licensed professional, but I'm also a follower of Christ. So I believe that I'm serving him in the way that I do what I do. Even to the point where I think that social workers and therapists are servants of God because we help his people. These ain't my people, that's his people. So I think for me, sometimes people aren't ready or they're not in a place where they can hear him, but they can hear somebody who's non-biased and he can speak through them. So that's why I think both kind of work together because you kind of need someone to hold your hand until you get to the point where you can talk to him on your own.
Yeah, all of that.
Okay. I want to talk about the people who go to the other side and the people who are like, okay, just pray through it. You don't need to go to therapy. You ain't crazy. Let's talk about what you guys feel like that is about, or like where that stems from and how we can kind of debunk that or tell people that's not true. Like, you don't got to be crazy to go see a therapist. If you go see a therapist, she ain't crazy. And don't wait until the last minute when you are in shambles to go see a therapist. Because I tell everybody, it's like playing a sport. You get the skills, the knowledge, the practice. That way when life has a challenge or something comes up, you already got it in your pocket. You like, I know what to do. Don't wait till the last minute. Like, let's go when we know we got some stuff to work on.
I really think that it stems from a really good place. It stems from a center of faith. And I don't want to tell people you shouldn't have faith in God. I am absolutely certain that you should maintain your faith and that you believe that God is going to do it with 100% everything in you. But be open to the way that God can do it. Having somebody who is a spiritual leader that can talk to you is therapy. Having a really sound big sister, brother, uncle that you can confide in that's sound is that's a form of therapy. And reaching out to a stranger sometimes is the best thing because they don't know you. and they can't judge you. And if they do, you just don't go back to them no more. And then you don't pay them to like cast judgments, but at the same time, it gives you the space to have both. I'm going to have 100% faith in this hand, and I'm going to have 100% help in this hand, and somewhere it's going to happen. I don't think we should give up on our faith, but I think that we should find support for it and put feet to it. Like, faith without works is dead, and going to therapy is my work towards my faith. So while I wait for God to do the thing, this is what I'm going to give him to show him that I'm going to meet him.
Yeah, and I think therapy was given like a bad name from way back when, right? Because they used to electric shock people and do all those crazy things. So I just think it just started off just having a bad reputation. So I just think we just have to get away from that mindset. So like,
and bad experiences spread. Bad experiences spread, and people who've had bad experiences will tell 1,000 people about how they had this one therapist that told them that they needed to. I'm not going to give any of the things I've heard, but told them something absolutely insane that turned them off. Or you were a kid and you were forced into situations, and so you've had this bad taste in your mouth. So it kind of turns you from it, and you'll tell 1,000 people about it. But good experiences kind of don't spread the same way.
And I also feel like there has to be a balance. So if you're looking for faith in therapy, pray before you find a therapist. Pray before you get someone so that you get someone that aligns with you. And don't say, oh, this person I didn't like them, and give up. Because I think dating, it's a relationship. It's a type of relationship, and you're trying to find that out. If you met someone and you didn't like them, you were going to be like, oh, I'm never going to try to meet friends again. No, you're going to keep trying. You're going to keep doing it. So you got to do that with therapy because it's a type of relationship. Everybody isn't going to gel well together, especially after the first time.
I think that there is definitely a stigma behind mental health, and a lot of people feel like, oh, if I go see a therapist, that means something's wrong with me, or they're going to put me on medications. But I think you have to look at the spiritual aspect of it. Like, you're trying to break generational curses. You're trying to get out of those mental spaces and really dig into that trauma. Like I said earlier, like going into your identity, I think talking to somebody else that is unbiased can definitely open a door to a different perspective and how you see yourself and how you see Jesus. I think that it plays a big role in your trajectory in life.
So what about those people who are like, don't go see the lady, pray through it? What do we tell those people to kind of help them feel more comfortable? Because there are people who I feel like are in the middle, like, man, I want to go see a therapist, but then they might talk to their pastor or somebody that they feel like they trust, and they're like, you don't need to do that. Go sit down. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Calm down. You're not anxious. That's in your mind.
I think it goes back to what Internet said about sound. Like, that soundness is very vital. It's a very pivotal thing when you're trying to find a therapist, and who you surround yourself with, because people will normalize your behaviors and tell you, oh, you don't need that, but don't let them project what they aren't doing onto you, because that's not going to always work for you. So I think definitely like sound relationships, who you're connected to, who you're hearing, like what are your gateways, like what are you letting in, what are you letting out. So definitely being aware of that is important.
Okay.
Get a second opinion. I think that you should always be looking for agreement. And agreement not with what you're thinking, but if you can find two people at two different places and get agreement, then that's kind of a good way to judge if it's sound advice or not. But if you get one person that say, you don't need therapy, you just got to pray. If you have somebody that says, no, let's investigate this, or let's just sit down and see if we can find somebody for you. That second opinion might be enough for you to determine that you need to go one way or the other. But it doesn't hurt to try. I used to tell kids all the time, you got to try it twice to make sure you don't like it. So like, I want you to, like, if you feel like it's something you want to try, of course we're talking about therapy, try it and see if you can make it work. If it helps or if it doesn't help, or even if it just gives you enough understanding of what this is to make a better determination on if you want to go forward, I think it's there. But get a second opinion. Your sound advice should agree with somebody.
Yeah, and I think this generation is more willing to go to therapy than the grandmas and the mamas and all them.
Yeah.
Mother dear, they weren't trying to hear all of that. They're going to tell you to stay on the floor until Jesus
Jesus
get
Tearing before the
Don't check it
altar.
up. Don't check it up.
Yes.
Until something happens. But I think this generation is more willing to hear that, okay, yeah, I might need to get some mental health because it's out there now.
Yeah. And I want to talk about another thing. Like, people think, oh, well, I can't go because it's going to cost me all this money. It's actually covered through your insurance. You just got to pay a copay, like going to the doctors. Yeah. So that was one thing that also came up. A lot of people are like, well, I can't, how am I afford it? Or how am I going to find it? What do you guys suggest with that? Well, the affordability I just talked about. But how do you find it? If you guys want to share, how'd you find your therapist?
References.
I'm the type of person, when it comes to my mental health, I'm going to pay. I don't care what I got to do. So I was in a situation where I found a therapist that I was really, really interested in, and she kind of hurt me when I told her that I just wanted to put it all out on the table to her. Although she didn't take my insurance, she was like, well, you can pay me $125. And I paid that until I got to a place where, okay, I can manage now because I've gotten through what that barrier was for me. So I paid the price to get through my mental state. So now I'm in a place where let me find an affordable therapist because I'm not in crisis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on where you are mentally in your battle or whatever you're trying to seek out from therapy. Definitely starting off initially.
Find whatever resources you have. They look like us now, so it's not like you are hurting to pay somebody. You pay to get your nails done. I do. You pay to get your hair done. Bundles are. Literally, bundles for one hairstyle is the price of an hour in front of a therapist, and we pay for luxury in other ways. We pay for experiences in other ways. This is an experience that's worth paying for, and they got other resources like BetterHelp. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud, but
I don't know about them actually. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know about
I didn't see their website. You got to pay for them, I think.
But it's like a monthly service.
Psychology Today. Psychology Today.
That's where I found my therapist. I literally went in and I emailed like 20 different people I felt like I could talk to. And then of the people that came back, I had a 10, 15-minute consultation with them and was like, nope, she sounded like grandma and I feel judgmental. It was nothing that she said. It was her tone of voice and it made me think of somebody else. And I was like, nope, that's not going to work for me. So I did that. But only reason why I suggested it is because it's like a monthly fee, but you have access to somebody by text and things like that. So if you're in a situation where you're like, I don't have but $20, get it for a month and work your way through the crisis and then get to a place where you can find something affordable like you suggested.
Or if you're in the state of Maryland, Governor Wes Moore has actually sponsored where there's crisis lines and phone numbers, and we'll make sure we include it in the description so that you can get access to that when you need it. Sometimes you got the 20, but you might need something else, so it doesn't hurt for you to call the crisis line and just talk to somebody and really work it through. Psychology Today, I like it because it's like a dating app. Like, you put in your zip code, you select your issues, your insurance, and you can match with the right, or what they think is the right.
Race.
You can pick.
You can pick religion.
Wow.
You can pick male,
Everything.
female, in between, anything outside of that. Like, you can pick literally down to the moment.
Heard of that.
You didn't know that?
Yeah.
No, that's what I said.
I got
just found
sent there.
mine through word of mouth. I was looking for a good therapist, and it took me a minute, but I found it.
And then therapy for Black girls is a way for Black women who are also looking to be seen by Black women to go in there, and they can find different things and resources. So that's another thing for the Black women out here looking for it.
Don't go to TikTok.
Yes! I'm glad, Shanita. Thank you for saying the TikTok. Let's talk about mental health and everyone being a therapist. Everyone calling themselves a therapist. Y'all, please go see somebody that's licensed. And I'm not shading other people or talking down to other people. But therapy is not, I'm talking, we just talked. I've had people be like, I do the same thing you do. I just talk to them. No, baby, I come from the diagnostic manual, okay?
The
And the DSM-5, DSM-5-TR,
Okay.
and you're going to get a diagnosis with me, and we're going to work through it. And it doesn't always have to be something heavy. Sometimes people are missing that. You just got a little adjustment disorder. You got a lot going on, and you got to work it through. So
Y'all
yeah.
be trauma bonding with these people that y'all just sitting around talking to and calling it therapy, but I'm gonna just say that you gotta stop trauma bonding for
Trauma
sure.
bonding. I never heard of it.
So it's basically like I can sit with you
Yeah.
and tell you something and be like, girl, I went through the same thing. We're trauma bonding. We're not working through what is happening.
I'm learning a lot.
We're like stacking onto each other. It's like the blind leading the blind. Like, girl, you did that, I did
Yeah.
this. So.
And then we feel like we connected and we feel like, oh, we didn't have a whole therapy
Right.
session.
No.
Well, we did not do that at all. We didn't get to no solution.
No.
It's
None.
yeah, but I mean,
It feels good.
because we got to vent,
Right.
But and sometimes you walk away now with their experience on your shoulder, so now you're more angry at a guy or more angry at a teacher because you had that. It's a lot,
And that can also
Yeah.
be spiritual.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't gotta
Yeah,
get too
you
deep
get
in that.
stuck in
So,
weird friendships.
You
Yeah.
get stuck
And
in things.
when you grow, you can't grow beyond them.
Yeah.
So you feel bad because now I'm leaving them, and it's a
And it causes so much friction.
Ooh.
And you think you better than me, and why did you do this? So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
you definitely have to be weary of doing that.
And also having people co-sign your poor coping skills, okay?
Yes.
So if my friend, I know she's working on something and I know this person, like they like to smoke or they like to drink, and I'm like, oh girl, let's go. You had a long day. Let's go have a drink. Let's go smoke or something. We didn't have therapy. Those are the friends you gotta be weary of because now you're self-medicating. Now you're doing stuff that doesn't necessarily feed your spirit and actually may derail your spirit in some ways. And that's not the license, that's just me, not the professional, that's just me. So speak on that a little bit, ladies. The people who are saying, I'm going to drink it away, I'm going to smoke it away, I'm going to sex it away.
I like that song.
Solange, Trains in the Sky.
I love that song.
But in the song, she talks about how she did everything and it didn't go away. So if you didn't take nothing from the song, is you can try everything.
I think you have
And it
to
didn't go
start
away.
with understanding your vices. I think a lot of people don't know what their vices are. And they kind of lean into them like, oh, you want to go drink? Cool. That's how I normally cope. And I think it goes back to your relationships and the soundness and who are you surrounding yourself with when you are going through things. And I think that plays a major part in how you seek out other things and how you seek out Jesus. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to just lean on this and not go to Jesus. So you also have to figure out, where do I find my balance?
I like balance. I like the word balance because it is essential. I think a lot of times we run from God and we feel like somehow we've done something that's so outrageous that we can't be forgiven, or this part I can't take to God because it's just too messy. And it puts us in these positions where I'm going to use this to fix this problem, but I'm going to use God for these other things. And we end up hiding these pockets. And that's why I think the two go together. I need to pray and be honest with God, and I need to pray and be honest with my therapist so that I can balance it all. Otherwise, I am going to be out here trying to sex it away and drink it away and all those other things, and it's never going to go away. I'm just going to wake up with a hangover and a problem.
And how do you know when you're seeking wise counsel? And I want to talk about wisdom, the Bible, and therapy, because therapy is not new. People like to think this is that new thing. It's been around for a while. It just always hasn't been called what it's called. So I want to talk about wise counsel and wisdom. And
they call Jesus counselor. So it was there
Yeah.
from the beginning. So
I think it starts with prayer.
absolutely.
It always starts with prayer. Everything starts with prayer. And you have to be able to discern and know when it's God, when it's the enemy, when it's yourself. I mean, you just really, prayer is most important when you're trying to seek wisdom and direction. And you have to get into your word and see what it says. There's so many resources, like you said before, so many resources and books and people that have studied and know these topics and have had so much experience with different things in life. We just have to tap into those resources that are out there. But pray first.
Pray before you get the resources. Absolutely. Because it's a lot of stuff, like she said. So be weird.
Understanding. A lot of times we pray, God fix it, God do this, God make this happen. But sometimes it's just we need to have a better understanding. I need a better understanding of you, God, because maybe this situation is doing something that I need to be part of. Or something is coming out of me, or I'm coming out of something that this situation is doing for me. And therapy helps you find your path. Sometimes it doesn't tell you what to do. These counselors and therapists are not in here saying you gotta do this and you gotta do that and you're crazy and take 5 pills. Sometimes you need to take a pill. Sometimes you don't. But they're helping you find your path. One person I was talking to about whether or not to choose therapy, they were on the fence about it. And I was like, it's really not somebody telling you what you can think or can have. It is somebody helping you to pack and unpack. Some of these things you're going to not need today. Let's box that up and save it for later. Instead of having an entire mess all over your house. It is a room overflowing with clothes and all your possessions in the world are in this room. And some of these can be packed up and preserved. And some of it just needs to go into the Goodwill box. And some of it needs to go into the trash. They're just helping you figure out how to sort things. They're not even telling you what needs to go away. They're helping you decide, this teddy bear you got when you were 2. Do you need this teddy bear today? Have you touched it in the last 6 years? Like, can I put this away? And I think that understanding the purpose and the role helps you figure out who to talk to and what you need. What is wise counsel? Like, what is wisdom? We talk about wisdom all the time, but wisdom is beyond being smart. I got a whole lot of book smarts. I'm going to do some math for you. I love mentoring, but I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to take you apart and put you back together. I don't have that. I think mentoring is a great step, but it is a first step. There is something beyond and above my capabilities, and it is okay for you as a mentor, as a life coach, as whatever you are, to say, this is beyond me. Let me help you find somebody. And that's wise counsel. Somebody that's always going to push you to be better, not just a bigger version of yourself, but a better version of yourself, a more Christ-like version.
I agree. That was wise counsel. And sometimes it's bigger than some people. And I really like that. It was something you said that triggered therapists. Sometimes I also want to make it, we're human. Like, we don't have it all together. And sometimes as a person who is a follower of Christ, God just dropped little nuggets in the brain while you talking to people. And you'll be talking to somebody trying to explain neuroplasticity. And then they like, what is that? And you talking about the neighborhood and how you got to walk through different pathways and walk through the grass. So sometimes, finding someone who can relate to you.
Well, you're not going to define that word. You're just going to
neuroplasticity is how it's the brain and how to create new pathways in your brain. It's so you can create new habits, new processes, new things. And once you create a pathway and you use it more, the old pathway weakens and the new one grows stronger.
It's like rewiring your brain.
Rewiring your brain to do something healthy. So instead of doing something you're not supposed to do to cope, you would try, I'm going to go exercise, work out, and the more you use that pathway, the more your brain will start to shift to go to that behavior in comparison to the other. But I definitely, as a therapist, I've had a moment where I'm trying to explain it to somebody, and she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay.
So forget the former things, and all things are made new in a biblical perspective.
Okay, Jesus. Okay.
Jesus and therapy. Jesus on my mind. All of that. And really aligning with someone who gets it, is not just, you talked about therapists being a guidance. Therapists are not supposed to tell you, don't do this or go do this, or that's not their job. And if you have someone, I would caution you against, that relationship and really take time to reevaluate.
Or run real fast.
Because simply a guide, I simply give you the information, and it is completely up to you to do what you want with the information. You shouldn't go to therapy feeling ashamed or judged or like, I can't tell her that. No, this is your space. It's your time. Therapy is really about you. Like, this is your life. This is the one area in life where I feel like you can be completely selfish. Suck up all the air in the room, and it's okay. And I think sometimes people go to therapy and they're like, oh, well, how are you doing? Don't worry about you. We getting paid. Don't worry about how I'm doing. How are you? Where are you at? What are your highs and lows? How are you checking in?
I never thought to ask. Every time I went, anytime I had to say, I never, like I come, she was like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And I just waited to dive in. I never asked how she was doing, none of those things. I was like, she looks healthy. We're good to go.
Right.
Like, it never, like, she never gave me a sign that it was something off with her. So I don't think I've ever asked. I did when she was, like, firing me, basically.
Yeah.
When she told me I was good and it was time to close that chapter and move forward. I had the tools that I needed to be successful. So then I was like, but you mentioned one time you had a husband. How's your husband? Because I was trying to stall and stay. But I think that's another really good thing, that when you finally, like, even when you feel like I'm still a mess, and they're like, no, you have the tools. Remember that one time that you said this and then you did that? But now that, look at you doing it this way. And getting the words. One thing that happens is if you talk long enough, the words will come. And getting the words so I can come back home and say, I'm not frustrated. My feelings are hurt. I'm not angry with you. I just had a really bad day and I want to sit down and have 0 words. I'm overstimulated. Having the words made a huge difference in my life. And so the tools that I took away was just the English language. That was my biggest takeaway from therapy. And I went in with a lot on my plate and a lot of background issues, a lot of people issues, a lot of probably diagnoses that I needed. I went in with a lot, but coming out with the words to be able to explain what I'm thinking so that I wasn't consistently frustrated and feeling trapped in my own head was awesome. And when your therapist fires you, I'm not saying fires you, but when your therapist says that we don't need to do this anymore,
Discharge.
Yeah.
Discharge.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
Yes.
It's the same.
you just
Yeah.
broke up with me.
It is.
You better use them I statements. I feel, not you did this.
Right.
It's I.
feel.
Focus on yourself.
Yeah,
But I think that's a great way to start to wrap up.
Be intentional when you pick your therapist.
yes,
Be intentional. Know what you want. Know what you don't want.
and don't be afraid to change. I went through 3 before I landed on the one that worked best for me, and some I had multiple sessions with. It's dates. These are dates.
Yeah.
Don't settle.
Trial and error.
Don't be afraid to go and do like 2 or 3 sessions and be like, nah, I'm good, and go start over with somebody else. We talked about how to get to therapy, but what happens when it's time to discharge? We're closing a chapter. When you've gotten all the things that you needed to get.
You cry.
No, I think
No, we don't cry. You don't cry. It's okay. It's okay to move on.
I think you can, at that point, you have to trust yourself and you trust God and you trust Jesus and you go from there knowing that you did what you had to do and you apply what you had to apply to your situation. And once it's time to go, it's time to go. But don't forget Jesus. Don't forget you got
Exactly.
God. That's your anchor.
Sometimes you got to graduate. And it's okay to graduate to new stages and lessons.